Welcome, this is Brandy. Imagine yourself back in high school. You're sitting in your driver's ed class. It's the first day of fall semester and you cannot wait to get behind the wheel. You've been waiting for this day for over 15 years and it's finally arrived. Your teacher shared the class syllabus and you read the objectives. Objective number 1. The student will be able to identify all relevant road signs and describe their meaning. Okay, you've been driving with your parents for years and you recognize everything from a simple stop sign to curves ahead. You've got this, no problem. Objective number 2. You will be able to describe the basic rules of the road. What? You'll understand the basic rules of the road? What does that mean anyway? You figure it must somehow be connected to the multiple choice driver's test you're going to need in order to get your license. Finally, objective number 3. The student will identify the various hand signals needed for turning. What is wrong with this picture? How am I ever going to pass this driver's test if I never get behind the wheel of the car? Those objectives have nothing that I want to learn. Because I live in the Pacific Northwest, I want to know how to drive in treacherous winter driving conditions. I want to know how to get out of a slide on a cold winter morning. I want to practice changing a tire in case mine gets flat and I'm stranded on the side of the road. I want to get my hands on the wheel and practice parallel parking, swerving to miss certain road hazards. I want to analyze the best course of action in emergency situations. My parents want me to see pictures of accidents caused by drunk driving and texting while driving. They want me to have an emotional experience with these accidents to ensure these things are imprinted on my brain and that I never take unnecessary risks that would put me in danger. As a result of today's program, you'll be able to create intriguing learning objectives that will increase your learners wanting to fully engage with the content and with one another. You'll learn how to create engaging, sexy, and meaningful learning objectives that are crafted using a 3-question formula. Your objectives will come from the highest levels of Bloom's taxonomy: applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. You're going to have the opportunity to create mouth-watering learning objectives that will cause your learners to eat right out of your hand. This will ensure that you have standing room only at upcoming class sessions, both face-to-face and virtually. Both of my sons, Riley and Rin, are in Taekwondo. I often find myself in the dojo watching their sensei work magic with them. I see him demonstrate the moves he would like them to make, carefully calling out each small detail. They're asked to note his stance, the movement of his body, and the direction his body is going. He counts off a small part of the routine and they practice what he is showing them. As they continuously practice, he gives each child very specific feedback on their own body movements. They're practicing the same moves in a variety of situations, individually, with a partner, on a dummy. The students are especially fond of working one-on-one with him. The same is true when we come home and practice. My older son Riley counts while Ren works through his pumse. Riley gives him small nuggets of feedback he can use to improve the next time. Then they continue the process for the next hour, working individually, side by side on a punching bag, with the word Kaizen in mind. Kaizen means continuous improvement. Think about how this might translate in your world. Perhaps it's similar to my experience, where you're watching your children learn. Perhaps it's a hobby of yours, where you're getting constant feedback from a mentor, or learning as you go by watching YouTube, or searching out better ways of doing things on Pinterest. You're learning and growing as you go along too. Dave Meyer, author of the Accelerated Learning Handbook, says that people learn more from real-life experiences with feedback than they learn from presentation materials, no matter how sophisticated, polished, and creative these might be. We improve our performance through real-world practice and continuous feedback on that performance. As Tim Ferriss, author of the 4-Hour Workweek, pointed out, you do not need 10,000 hours of practice to be an expert at something. You need continuous practice until you've reached a point of a solid performance. We do not need to strive for perfection, folks. We just need to strive. Performance improves when we offer participants the opportunity to practice skills at the highest levels of Bloom's taxonomy and provide them very specific feedback on their actions. As you're writing your learning objectives, you will choose verbs from the highest levels of Bloom's taxonomy, such as designing, inventing, experimenting, and justifying. This moves participants from the role of consumers of knowledge to the role of producers of new information. We're no longer asking them to regurgitate information, rather to produce new information based on what they discover. There are 4 areas that we're going to focus on: applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. Say these with me: applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. The verbs that come from higher levels of the Bloom's taxonomy will guarantee that our learners will be producers of content rather than consumers of information. We want them to produce actions that we can give them feedback on to improve the performance in their workplace. When I write a learning objective, I focus on the desired outcome. What is it I want my learners to be able to do? The focus should be on the doing. I set up my objectives so I can cast a vision of what I see my participants doing over the course of our time together. Their actions need to be observable and something that I can provide feedback on. The ability to describe something or identify it is the very lowest level of Bloom's taxonomy, and it's not where the synergy happens. Sure, they'll be able to give me facts, but will they be able to do something in the workplace that can translate into improved performance? I follow a simple formula when writing performance objectives that are based on 3 questions. What is the desired outcome? What action or actions need to be achieved to demonstrate success? Why is success important? Let's take an easy example. The desired outcome is my son successfully tying his shoes on his own. Success is demonstrated when my son is able to properly tie his shoes independently. This objective is important to him because he wants to be able to quickly change from his classroom slippers into his street shoes so he can be on time for recess. That is the desired impact. Here's a little tip. I've made sure that number 3 is directly connected to the WIFM, or what's in it for me for my son. It's important that I understand what motivates him so the outcome is meaningful in his life. Now I need to connect these 2 ideas by adding the words "in order to" between these ideas. Then I'll have a strong learning outcome. Ren is able to independently tie his shoes in order to change from his classroom slippers into his street shoes and make it on time for recess. Let's look at an example from the workplace. The desired outcome is for my team members to be able to add contacts to a SMORE newsletter distribution list. Success is demonstrated when they're able to add all of the learning coaches to the distribution list with a few easy clicks. This is important because it will save them precious time and it will also show them who has read their newsletter. Let's check to ensure we have all of the components. What is the desired outcome? What actions need to be achieved in order to demonstrate success? Is creating a distribution list at the highest level of Bloom's taxonomy? Yes, it is. Why is success important? Is this connected to WIFM? Does this motivate my participant? Once I add the magic words "in order to," I've created a strong learning outcome. You are able to add contacts to a SMORE newsletter with a few easy clicks in order to save precious time and know who actually reads the school newsletter. Now let's try one of these on your own with a performance goal that's important to you. What is your desired outcome? What actions need to be achieved to demonstrate success? Why is success important? Answer these questions and see what happens when you use the formula to create a strong learning outcome. What participants need to know, plus, in order to, plus, why this is important to them. I created one along with you. As a result of this session, you'll be able to create engaging performance objectives for your work in order to motivate participants to join your session and contribute. How did we do? Share your outcome with a colleague and ask them to give you some honest feedback. How does the learning outcome stir something inside them that would cause them to want to take action? How might you improve on this objective? Thank you for your time and attention. Well done on creating a strong and meaningful learning objective using this simple 3-question formula. Cheers to a future of strong and meaningful learning objectives for both face-to-face and virtual learning events. Your potential to create meaningful learning objectives that will motivate the masses is inspiring. Bye for now.